Yo, what's up? This is Fling from Fantasy Fling, and today we're going to look at the weekly winners on Underdog Fantasy. The weekly winners is a contest that pays $20,000. So first, each and every week of the NFL season. So we're going to look at some of the winning trends on how to win this contest. All right. So weekly winners. This contest is really a fun contest on Underdog Fantasy. It is a marriage between best ball and DFS. So what I love about this contest is you're drafting as you would a best ball contest, but they pay weekly prizes out to the top scoring lineup. So essentially, you are trying to get the number one score each and every week. If you finish top 10, you basically make your money back for the season, assuming you max into the contest. It's a $10 entry fee, and you have a chance at $20,000. So it doesn't matter that you had a consistently good team across the season like it would maybe in traditional best ball formats. What matters the most is that you have a high-end week or multiple weeks. So roster construction is similar to typical best ball. You're going to have 18 roster spots, one quarterback, two running backs, three wide receivers, one flex, one tight end, and 10 bench spots. So I went ahead and looked at the 23 to 2024 winners of the weekly winners on Underdog. And typically I found some trends. So the winning lineups on average had 2 to 3 quarterbacks, 5 to 6 running backs, 7 to 8 wide receivers, and 3 tight ends. So very similar to what you would see in Best Ball Mania. So a lot of similar strategy. You're going to have elite tight end. If you go an elite tight end like Bowers and McBride, you're going to, only draft a couple tight ends, and you're typically going to want to wait till you get your second tight end. If you don't get one of the elite guys, you're going to want to draft 3 to 4 on average. The same could be said for a quarterback. So very similar. You wait on a quarterback, you're going to get 3 to 4. And, if you grab one early, you're definitely going to only draft 2. Now, in the flex, not surprising, half PPR. Last year, really, it was 59% of winning lineups were in the flex in 2024. At running back, they had running back in the flex. Wide receiver was 41%. Tight end was not in the flex at all. Over the course of 2 years, it's been about 65% running back in the flex. And wide receiver is about 30%, tight end about 5 to 6% there. So running backs, you definitely are going to make it to the flex a lot. You're going to have about 5 to 6 running backs, as we saw here on average, and about 7 to 8 wide receivers. And, one of the great ways to get one of those running backs in the flex spot, obviously, is nailing some of your late round picks, which we'll get into in a second. But don't even bother, trying to stack up on tight ends and get him in flex, because that really has not mattered. Draft strategy essentials. When looking at the past 2 years of winners, 34 winners, we've seen 94% of teams take a running back in the first 5 picks. We've seen the same amount take a wide receiver in the first 5 picks. So you really want to get at least one wide receiver or one running back early in the first 5 picks. But about half of the time, a little more than half of the time, both running back and wide receiver taking more than 2 in your first 5 picks was a winning strategy. Tight end, about half the time, and quarterback, about the same. A little more important to get an elite tight end, but it's pretty close as far as getting an elite quarterback. But the thing is if you get an elite quarterback, you're not getting an elite tight end. So it's really one of the other. Now, stacking, this is one of the most important things in this contest. All winners had some correlation over the past 2 years. So primary stack was the most common. That is a QB plus a pass catcher. That could be a wide receiver. That could be a tight end. They can even be a running back, especially if they're a receiving running back that catches passes out of the backfield like Joe Burrow, throwing to Chase Brown. Secondary stack, if you didn't get a primary stack, you 100% had to get a secondary stack, which is same team or same game correlation. So you're stacking Chase Brown and, Jamar Chase, or maybe you got the Chiefs and Broncos playing each other and you're stacking like Worthy and Cortland Sutton. That one's harder to predict unless you're really good at, studying the schedule or you got divisional opponents. But I think it makes more sense to just have that correlation on the same team. Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers, for example. 17% of winners did have a naked quarterback build, which is essentially a rushing quarterback stacked without receivers. So that is something that you want to keep an eye on. If you're unable to get your quarterback stacked, try to get a running quarterback with high upside. And specifically, if you can avoid a running quarterback who doesn't have the most reliable pass catchers, like a Josh Allen, if you can get Khalil Shakir, if it matches up, great. If not, don't be trying to reach for these third and fourth options. It just hasn't worked. Now, one of the things to obviously winning is you're going for a spike week. You want a ceiling performance. So you really need a lot of this comes in a player takes. Like you need to have guys that can, have a tremendous season like Saquon Barkley did last year. So you want to have the right player takes, and that is one great way to get spike weeks. But where you get the most leverage in these contests is having those guys that you can also get late that have spike weeks that give you that tournament winning upside. The Chase Browns and the Bucky Irvings of last year. Who are going to be those guys this year? You really need to target those guys with a high ceiling potential. And one of the things that I like to think about with this, why it's such an advantage, is think about traditional DFS. If you played on DraftKings, you may have a guy that comes out of nowhere. What was Puka Nakua's price week 1 of 2 years ago? It may have been 4K, may have been 5K. By the end of the season, this is a 9K plus player. Well, in best ball, their price doesn't change. So you got that player towards the end of your draft, but you are now essentially having that kind of value where you got a first round player towards the end of your draft. That is how you continue to have these spike weeks that give your chance, the best chance to win one of these and win the 20,000. The last thing I want to talk about, bye week strategies. There's a few different ways you can approach this. One, spread it out evenly, be cognizant of it so that you give your team a chance each and every week. Or you could just say, you know what, I'm going to go heavy on a couple of these teams that I really like. I'm fine being dead 1 to 2 weeks when their bye weeks are, happening, the bye week apocalypse. And just knowing that you're not going to have a chance those other weeks. The other option, and I've done a few of these drafts, there's 6 teams on bye, week 8, for example. So I like having some exposure to some teams where I target them specifically to attack those that bye heavy week, because if you got the majority of your firepower during that bye week, and when there's a lot of really good teams with great players on bye, I feel like you have a really good chance to win that tournament. So in summary, the weekly winners, looking at the last 34 winners, the last 2 seasons, roster balance, 2 to 3 quarterbacks, 5 to 6 running backs, 7 to 8 wide receivers, 2 to 3 tight ends on average. Early picks, running back, wide receivers, you want to focus on those. 0 running back did not work in this contest. And that's one of the big takeaways from the Best Ball Mania, which 0 running back didn't work last year, but it's worked a lot in prior years, to this contest. The weekly winners, 0 running back did not work. Hero running back, or even robust, like you want wide receivers early and often, but you want running backs early and often too, because you need those guys like Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley to give you that ceiling-like performance. So focus on running backs, wide receivers. Correlation is king. Stack players, teams from the same game, and identify this year's Chase Brown, this year's Bucky Irving. You want to have some player takes where you can rely on some of your player takes to have those potential breakout players. Now, guys, I'm actually going to be doing a show. I'm going to do a live stream with DFS Army. I'm going to be doing 2 of these a week. We're going to call it Best Ball and Brews. And starting every Tuesday and Thursday around happy hour, which is 5 o'clock Eastern. Best Ball is something that we do on DFS Army as well. It's not just DFS, especially a contest like this that's a marriage between the two. So if you want to get access to DFS Army's Discord and the Best Ball rankings that you can upload into your drafts, use code Fantasy Fling, get you 10% off a VIP subscription. I'll put the link in the video. I will also put DFS Army's YouTube channel in the video as I do content for them, and that is where I'll be doing the weekly streams. Also, if you've never played on Underdog Fantasy before, I'll get you a deposit match. They have Best Ball, they have DFS, and they have Pick'em contest. 100% deposit match up to $250. Use code Fantasy Football Fling. That's going to do it for this one. Appreciate you joining me. Hope you learned a lot. Let's definitely not be strangers. Let's get into those drafts, those live streams together on DFS Army's YouTube channel, and we will see you soon.